Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to this video. This is the snapshot series wherein we capture the day's biggest stories in sharp focus. Today we are tracking spectacular collapses, strategic dilemmas, and the price of your conversations. From Wall Street's worst nightmare to Europe's identity crisis. Let's dive in. The $10 billion unraveling. The First Friends Group just became Wall Street's cautionary tale. The car parts group filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on Sunday with over $10 billion in liabilities. Just 2 months after the bankers at Jefferies were marketing a $6 billion loan as perfectly safe, citing $1 billion in liquidity. The speed of the collapse has shocked everyone. First Friends founder Patrick James built an empire using debt to stitch together a sprawling industrial conglomerate away from the public markets. But the facade cracked when investors requested more information about the company's invoice factoring, a financing technique wherein the companies sell customer invoices for upfront cash. As it turns out, the First Brands Group had 2.3 billion in factored invoices, equivalent to over 70% of the annual sales, plus another 682 million in supply chain finance. The losers? Asset managers like PGIM, CIFC, and Blackstone held First Brands debt through CLOs that bought at face value. That debt now trades at 33 cents on the dollar. The winners? Apollo Global Management and hedge fund Diameter Capital shorted the debt before the collapse. Some distressed debt funds bought large blocks last week at deep discounts, with Goldman Sachs calling it the largest risk transfer in a single day. Jefferies faces biggest reputational damage as it was both the lead banker and an investor in the opaque invoice financing. The bank's image was already bruised from the Sachs global disaster last year. Now it's facing questions about a $6 billion refinancing turned into a $10 billion bankruptcy in a few weeks. Next, let's talk about the Europe's $1 trillion question. Should Europe's best AI startups sell out to Silicon Valley or dare to become giant themselves? Sweden's AI scene is forcing the question into sharp focus. Sana, a Swedish startup, just sold to the US software giant Workday for $1.1 billion. And the founder defends the move by saying that the distribution is essential for ambitious AI companies, and Workday offers access to 2/3 of the Fortune 500 companies. But the sale has reignited a familiar European angst. Promising startups get snapped up just as they are taking off, like the fintech iZettle's $2.2 billion sale to PayPal in 2018. Meanwhile, the 35-year-old Antonosi Kazlavable, a vibe coding startup using AI to assist in software development, is thinking bigger. Much bigger, actually. His goal is to become Europe's first $1 trillion company. The Stockholm-based startup hit 100 million in annualized recurring revenue and is fielding offers at over 4 billion valuation. Competitors like Legora, which uses AI to help lawyers with mundane tasks, is also staying independent despite Huawei's aggressive US expansion. Stockholm has more unicorns per capita than anywhere outside Silicon Valley, but the question remains: can Europe compete by selling off its most promising companies, the startups most cited as inspiration? For example, Spotify and Klarna stayed independent and dared to think big. Few also mentioned Microsoft's acquisition of Minecraft maker Mojang. For Europe's tech future, it's vital that more founders dream like Osika and resist the temptation of a quick billion-dollar exit. Your chats are now ad gold. Meta has just announced that it will mine your conversations with its AI chatbots to personalize advertising across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. If you chat with Meta AI about hiking, expect to see recommendations for hiking groups, posts about trails, and ads for hiking routes. Over 1 billion people use Meta's AI features monthly, including Meta's AI chatbot and Imagine Me image generation. Mark Zuckerberg has poured billions into data centers and top talent to support his AI ambitions. And now the monetization is beginning. Meta will collect data from conversations across voice, text, and images, including through the Ray-Ban smart glasses, starting December 16th, everywhere except UK, Europe, and South Korea, where regulatory approval is still pending. Meta insists that this is a natural progression of its personalization efforts. In WhatsApp, only prompts directed to the chatbot and its responses will be collected, supposedly preserving the message encryption. But make no mistake, every question you ask Meta AI is now training data and targeting intelligence. OpenAI just added checkout to ChatGPT. Google introduced ads into AI search summaries. The AI monetization race is on, and your conversations are the currency. The chatbots are free, but you are paying with every query. NATO for the Gulf. President Trump has just extended NATO like security guarantees to Qatar through an executive order dated Monday. If Qatar is attacked, the US shall take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and, if necessary, military, to defend the Gulf monarchy. The timing is telling. This comes after Israel's September strike on Hamas representatives in Doha, a violation of the Qatari sovereignty that suspended Qatar's mediation role between Israel and Hamas. Trump orchestrated an Oval Office call wherein the Israeli Prime Minister apologized to the Qatari Prime Minister, and shortly after, the White House released a 20-point plan to end the Gaza war, wherein Qatar initially opposed but now supports. The order falls short of NATO's Article 5 treaty commitment, but it goes beyond Qatar's 2022 designation as a major non-NATO ally. And this also shows how Trump has made Gulf relations central to his Middle Eastern strategy. And now let's close with carbon credits for your closet. Star Collective just became the first pre-owned fashion business to monetize avoided emissions into carbon credits. The Paris-based resale platform secured 55,000 credits based on the principle that buying second-hand prevents emission from producing new items. The methodology is independently developed and certified by MSPEC, required 4 years of research. The key parameters out here: an 85% substitution rate measuring how many pre-loved purchases replace new items, a 12% seller rebound effect accounting for increased consumption from selling used clothes, and a 90% lifespan for second-hand versus the new items. At 35% per ton, the credit represents a new financing tool for circular fashion. The timing also matters. Fewer than half of the world's top 250 fashion brands publish emissions reduction targets verified by Science-Based Targets Initiative, with Scope 3 emissions still rising for a third of these brands. Western Collective will reinvest the revenues in authentication to fight counterfeiting and education to encourage buying pre-loved over fast fashion. The project also supports employment in a historic textile hub in France, which was devastated by deindustrialization. Overall, what can be said is that it's a clever business model. Turn your business model into credible environment assets while claiming to save the planet. One vintage handbag at a time. That's all that we have in this particular episode of Snapshot. From bankruptcy, sudden shock, to Europe startups, soul searching, and the monetization of everything: your charts, your security, and your second-hand sweater. We are watching price tags appear on things we thought were free. That's all that we have for in today's episode. Stay tuned in for tomorrow's episode.